Estonian War of Independence. Many of them died for their country, and after Estonia won its independence, villages and towns across that country put up marble plinths on the in the main squares of those towns, in which they listed the names of those who had given the ultimate sacrifice. 20 years later, when Stalin's communist forces returned and occupied Estonia, one of the very first things the new communist government did was to seek to destroy these monuments. But before the Soviet activists could do that, the people of Estonia took the marble plinths with the names of those who had died and buried them so that the names in marble would never be taken away from them. When the Soviet Union began to dissolve in the late 1980s, the people of Estonia dug up these marble plinths and they restored them back on the surviving monuments or built new monuments so that the old plinths would have a place to go. If you travel there and visit any one of dozens of villages, you will see the names incised in marble, which are a continuing testimonial to how important the struggle for freedom and against communism was. The second story is a personal one and involves my proudest moment as an American official, and it also involves words incised in marble. In 1990-1991, I worked at the State Department as a special advisor to the Secretary for Soviet Nationality Problems and Baltic Affairs. We did make that distinction. One of my jobs was to play host to visitors from these countries, occupied, and show them something of the city of Washington. I can't remember today precisely how many times I did it, putting them in my car and driving them from place to place around this city. But I can remember what mattered to them, and I can tell you one story that neither I nor those who were there will ever forget. I believe, and I suspect many of you do as well, that the closest thing we Americans have to a civic cathedral is the Lincoln Memorial. If there is one place that speaks to all of us as Americans, it is the Lincoln Memorial. And so I always arranged my visits for these people so we would end up at the Lincoln Memorial. If you wanted to make a political point, that was the way to do it. On March 29th, 1991, a very dark and rainy day here, I took the President and Foreign Minister of Estonia on such a tour, and we ended up there as planned. Because the only common language all three of us had at the moment was Russian, I was translating Lincoln's words from the Gettysburg Address that are incised in marble on the left side of that building into that language. I know, of course, that no one can translate Lincoln. Certainly I can't. But I was doing the best I could, and apparently my Russian was attracting the attention of the National Park Rangers who worked there. One of them came running up and he said, "What language are you speaking?" Because he's got these folders to hand out if he's got one of those languages. And I said, "We're speaking Russian." "Oh," he said, "are these people from Russia?" And I said, "No, these people are from Estonia." And without missing a heartbeat, this National Park Ranger, in his little cap or a little hat with the wide brim, smiled and said, "Oh, I've heard of Estonia. It's just a little country that wants to be free." Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Every